Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, all the hands went down. All right, all those in favor of Don Williams as vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations, John. Thank you.
You don't get around as well.
I don't imagine.
So, the next piece here is the working groups and committees. I sent it out to all of you who have, a board.
Clerk.
Oh, sorry, clerk, yes.
Oh, good nominee.
Oh, I missed that one, yes. Is there a nomination for a clerk? I believe Lara has been serving as our clerk, yes? And, but,
I'll nominate Laura.
okay, there's a nomination by Ryan.
Second.
John, thank you. Anybody else would like to be the clerk?
Can you just tell
nominate.
us who the nomination on the floor is currently, please?
It's Lara Bauer.
Received.
All those in favor of electing Lara as the clerk, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. Okay, we also have an opportunity now to change committees, add yourself to a committee, join a working group, or remove yourself from a working group. I've received a couple of emails from a couple of folks. Matt would like to stay on finance. Maybe he was the only one that sent something to me, but in order not to take up a lot of time now, I did send it out to everyone with what you were currently listed as being on. It may or may not be true right now. If you would like to make a change, please email that to me or John. And if you would like to be removed from a committee or a working group, please send that information. If I don't hear from everybody, and I'll send out a reminder on this tomorrow or tonight to say, please let me know what your committee and or working group choices are or not. I will assume that you want to stay on the committee or working group that you're partly a part of right now. Is that acceptable to everybody?
I was whispering to Josh, I didn't hear you, but yes,
Okay. I am.
I'm just getting old now.
Yeah. All right, the code of ethics, I do not have that, downloaded. But each year, we review the code of ethics that the school board association,
I can make copies for everyone, it's fine. Do we need to re-sign for this year?
yes, we have to sign, it is in your board book. And while Sherry gets those ready, there's three main areas of our ethics. One is acting within the scope of my official role as a school board member. And which in many, it probably boils down to the important thing, which is that we do not run the schools. We basically set the policies and see that the policies are carried out. But we don't get into the day-to-day actions in the schools, and we don't get into making any directives to principals and other administrators. Second area is uphold the highest ethical standards. Has to do with reimbursements versus people giving you money. Not soliciting any funds for yourself. And if there is a conflict of interest, you recuse yourself in any decisions that we have to make. And we have agreed not to hire any personnel who are already under a contract. So that's the second area. The third is respecting my peers, my constituents, and confidentiality considerations. This mainly gets into executive sessions, that they are confidential and we are never to share them outside of the members who are at the executive session. And then just maintain in general respecting in confidentiality when we learn things about other folks. So. We do ask that you sign it, please, and date it, and then it just goes into a file. So if you are here to do it tonight, that would be great. Otherwise, it is in your board book and you can download into a printout the signature page if you're online and just get it over here at some point.
I signed that.
Why not?
Okay,
You need Brent to say.
right, yeah.
Is it okay?
I
Greg?
think you promised I will not steal.
Well,
Or accept
pinky
free.
promise is legit.
Then you need to leave the pen on the table.
I'm doing it with my right hand.
I think I mentioned at the last board meeting, there is legislation, I don't know where it is, maybe our folks here can help us. Around having student board members have a vote,
Yeah.
so. I'd vote for that. All right. So,
Are you collecting these now?
yes, if you want, you can send them over. We also have the meetings are in the board book as well of it's still a draft, but they're the typical meetings where most of them are on the first Monday and the third Monday, but on holiday months, March is always the second and so forth, so there's notes there. I'll put that on your calendars. It also has the committee meeting schedule as well. Those are, although often people change those days, which is fine, as long as it's put out in a notice and a warning that it's going to change. And then we need a voting delegate of one of us for statewide health insurance. I don't really think it's much of anything. I think it's at the school board association meeting. If you're not there, you can't vote, but it's a proxy vote. I don't even know who was it.
I think Ben did it once.
Hmm?
You did it once, right?
What's that?
Was the voting member for the healthcare school?
And I did it once.
You did it once.
Yeah,
So it's basically one meeting.
Adam did it. Yeah,
I'll do it.
all right,
I don't
John.
know. I need to be nominated for that.
I know it's an appointment.
Great.
You're appointed.
All right, seeing no other business here, we'll adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn the reorganizational meeting.
So move.
Second.
John?
You're streamlining the shit out of it today.
Yeah. Okay. So. Now we'll get into. The agenda. All right, we're gonna call the board meeting. To be present with a quorum at 6:43. And I'm asking if there are any agenda changes. Anybody have something to add? All right, the next thing that we have here for ourselves is the public comment. I just want to make sure that we understand that public comment is for a limit of 2 minutes per person. And our way of doing things is you cannot make a second comment until everyone's had a chance to give their comment first. And we ask that respect and order and decorum be observed by all people present. Not interrupt the proceedings or the peace of the meeting or interrupt or disturb any member while speaking. And we ask that you refrain from making personal, impertinent, threatening, or profane remarks. Thank you. Is there anybody who would like to make a public comment at this time? In the room or on Zoom? Ben?
Hi, Ben Ford, Woodstock. I have some words of reflection for the board. I committed to this a long time ago on the event that recent events should come to pass. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride. To make it easier, let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago never walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Thank you.
You should put a tune to that.
Thank you, Ben. How long did it take you to write that?
It just came to me.
It was brilliant.
Chat GPT.
Oh, no.
All right, any other public comment? Yes, go ahead.
Hi there, I'm Lauren Sullivan Justice. I'm speaking to you on behalf of the Queer Straight Alliance. I would like to thank the policy committee for inviting the QSA to provide feedback on the recommended policy currently entitled Transgender and Gender Informed Students Policy. We're very grateful for being invited to be involved in the process and to be part of this district that continues to support the LGBTQ+ community. On the whole, we are in support of the policy. We did make a few suggested revisions, but overall, we were just thrilled to be included and we're excited for the policy. And we hopefully you'll consider our revisions.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, I suppose, fine, yeah.
I would like to approach you all as a public member for the moment. My family was joyed to see several really cool things happening. We got to attend the Treasure Island showing this weekend with one of our very own members. Showcased, fantastic job. Also a shout out to the young women's snowboard and Nordic ski teams for reaching their division championships at the state level. Cheers to all of them. I know we got to attend some of the Nordic races this year, and I was so impressed at how much these athletes give. And I mean, they really just leave it all out there. So cheers to those two teams and our Yo players for being incredible students and human beings in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no more hands, we will move right into the reports, starting with the superintendent's report.
Yeah, very briefly, I've been spending a lot of time in Montpelier and back here in the district. There's a lot of work and I look to our senator and representative and see how tired they are. And that is for.
And Michael Hoyt's with us
Oh,
too. Yeah,
welcome.
can't see how tired he is.
I just wanted to thank you. There were some really important things. Hello, Michael, welcome. Important work happening in Montpelier. I'm glad that I have access to and support of our local representatives and senator. And the impact they will have on our communities and our students. It's really important work. Wanted you also to know, even though when I wrote this, we were just past the 100 school days, our principals are very active in planning for next year. Elementary principals have met multiple times to ensure that the unified arts schedules and shared staff are equitably distributed throughout the district. So lots of planning in place for that. Minimum class sizes, reviewing both at the elementary and middle and high school, making sure we're adhering to that point of Act 73. I know students have just completed their registration for courses for next year. So now we're aligning those requests for coursework with scheduling. Also, just a shout out to Jen Settle, Julie Brown, Patty Kelly, who have already, it's amazing, outlined our professional development for next year, schedule, commitments, and recommendations. So even though it's still winter here, almost, lots of planning are already in place for next year and what that will look like. So thank you to them.
Thank you. Are there any directors who would like to make any comments on their report?
I'd like to, if possible.
Jen?
I just wanted to take a quick minute to introduce myself. My name is Jen Settle. I'm the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, which I call the CIA, which I love. In my report, you'll see a few things. One is a link to resources that might be helpful to you as new board members, a description of some of the PD for next year with the literacy. And just reach out to me anytime you have questions. and I'm happy to support your work.
Thank you.
So much. And she's supporters.
Thank you. Any other directors?
I'll do the same as Jen. My name is Shana Kalinsky. I'm the Director of Student Support Services. That encompasses students who are eligible for special education, 504 plans, students who are receiving intervention services through our MTSS, multiple tier systems of support through interventionists. And anything that has to do with a need outside the box for the students, I'm that person. I love my job. I really appreciate the board's partnership and support of the work we do in the district, and please feel free to reach out at any time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Jim?
The new board members, I'm Jim Fenn, I'm the Director of Finance. I keep the money flowing slowly. Work with the auditors, work with the principals and managing the budgets on a daily, hourly, weekly budget basis. And I'm really excited because our work is just beginning on our new projects. I've got 2 bonds that I'm starting to get in the works right now for a July sale. And another one that we have a lot of work to do before we get to the bond, but it's exciting to see this work coming up ahead of us.
Thank you. Raph?
I don't want to be left out, so I'll join the group. I'm Raphael Adamek, I'm the Director of Technology and Innovation here for the district, and so I oversee our technology and data systems and all sorts of other pieces.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, well, thank you for your introductions, and now we have student reports.
Okay, so this past Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Youth Theater performed Treasure Island, originally by Robert Louis Stevenson and adapted in a script by Mary Zimmerman. The performance delivered pirates, shanties, treachery, and treasure by the boatload. And on March 4th, the Woodstock Girls Snowboarding team won the team state championship at Jay Peak. Woodstock seniors Leah Gugliota and Bonnie Franz tied for first overall. And let's be real, best at snowboarding in Vermont is basically best in the nation. So a huge congratulations to Bonnie and Leah. And more sports news that is totally crazy. In a game against Mount Anthony, junior Elvis LaValle scored a career 1,000 points for the Woodstock varsity team. Far fewer than 1% of high school basketball players ever reach this milestone. And the total exclusively includes points he scored while on the varsity team, not those scored during middle school or in any other groups. Assuming 20 games per season, starting his freshman year, that's an average of around 17 points per game. So congratulations to Elvis on the extraordinary accomplishment. And then Logan asked me to read his report if he wasn't.
He's gonna be a little,
It is a whopper, so I will start now. February may be the shortest month of the year, but it has certainly been full. The recent break was appreciated by everyone. I know I personally treasured the time to recharge. Even with the pause, winter athletics have either wrapped up or are quickly coming to a close. And our students have had much time to reflect on as we head into the final stretch of the school year. First, I would like to congratulate the girls Nordic team for capturing the state title after dominating the skate, classic, and relay races. It was an incredible performance. I would also like to recognize the Nordic coaching staff who have now brought home a boys or girls state title for the past 3 consecutive years, an outstanding accomplishment. Basketball and hockey are both still competing in the playoffs, and we are cheering you on as you continue your postseason runs. While February break provided rest, it also gave students time to think about the changes they would like to see in our school. During my monthly conversations with students, several themes consistently emerged. The primary concern remains the attendance policy. The current threshold of 4 absences resulting in a detention feels too strict for many students. While the goal of promoting responsibility is understandable, we must acknowledge the realities of living in Vermont. Transportation challenges, unplowed roads, vehicles that won't start in extreme cold, slow traffic on 2-lane roads, or unexpected delays are part of rural life. A policy with such a narrow margin for error does not always reflect these realities. Students are asking for a solution that maintains accountability while also offering reasonable flexibility when circumstances are genuinely beyond their control. Another pressing issue involves illness. As many families know, we are currently experiencing a flu and sickness outbreak. Students have expressed worry about attendance-related consequences when they are sick. When students receive notices about missed days and fear losing credit, some feel pressure to attend school while unwell. This not only affects their own recovery, but also disrupts the learning environment for others. Encouraging students to stay home when sick supports both health and academic focus. One potential solution discussed among students is trying
tying credit eligibility more closely to academic performance, such as GPA maintenance, rather than solely the number of days missed. This approach could balance academic standards with common sense health practices. The final major area of concern involves student voting. Budget votes are often close and understandably stressful for the community. Some of the students are eligible voters, yet school schedules and athletic commitment can make it difficult for them to participate. In elections where every vote matters, students should not feel penalized for exercising their civic responsibility. A proposed solution would allow eligible students to arrive late or leave early on voting day without consequences. Participation could even be verified by the I voted stickers distributed at polling locations. Supporting student civic engagement strengthens both our school and our community. February at Woodstock has been marked by both achievement and reflection. As we move towards testing season and the final academic push of the year, our students remain committed to representing our school at a high level. The combative spirit, sense of community, and desire to continually improve are what make Woodstock strong. By listening to student voices and thoughtfully addressing concerns, we can continue building a school environment that reflects our shared commitment to excellence. I look forward to a productive March as we move steadily towards the close of the new year.
Good job.
Wow.
Thank you.
There's speed reading, but a lot to think about. And that. All right, well, thank you. I was very impressed. I did actually go to Elvis's 1,000-point day with my friend, actually Sam's mother. We both like sports, and my husband doesn't, so I have to find people to take me to go with me. What I was most impressed by were two things. First, he was so humble when he got it, and second, he's only a junior.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at the banners, they have all those, and quite a few of them were stars when I was teaching, and I believe they mostly get them in the senior year, so to get 1,000 points was really amazing.
It was, yeah, and he's been like practicing like so much since 5th grade. He's so dedicated to it. Cares about it a lot.
Randy led us to, we went into the postseason this year with a 16-game win streak. Unfortunately, he had a knee injury in the first round of the playoffs and missed the last game, but I fully expect him to break the school individual record next year.
And I think I misspoke. I moved to the school in 5th grade, and when I moved here, he was already like practicing all the time. It was very cool.
I've known him since he was little, and I've just been obsessed with basketball. I've been wearing the basketball clothes and like practicing diligently and always being really kind to the much younger boys who would watch it.
Yeah, well, we're giving praise to the mentorship he does for the younger and the youth. Every Saturday, there's several varsity guys that go down with the coach and does open gym and drills and stuff for 3rd grade up through 8th. It's really cool.
Great, yeah, it was nice, but yeah, thanks for both reports. Well, we are now at our legislative update. We have Senator Clarkson, Representative Kimball, and Representative Hoyt with us. And I know that Seth is unable to be here. He's got some business trip down in Pennsylvania, but not without his questions.
Oh, you're shocked.
I have a few questions after you said what you said, because you may answer something.
Okay.
Maybe.
I can move to the back if you do like this. You guys know.
We can scoot in here.
We're still getting them to be able to.
No problem. This is gonna freak the people out watching a video.
The owl blinks like it must be.
Well, first, congratulations on a successful bond vote.
Here, here.
And school budget passing. That's. a major
Congratulations.
feat. So anybody that's ever involved with a campaign has to admire the campaign which you launched. When both Allison and I were getting calls to make sure we went to the polls, that was pretty good. It's leaving no T uncrossed. So congratulations.
And when
They called me
people,
too.
Yeah, they called you.
yeah, and when people are stopping and asking, and talking about the mailer and talking about the flyer, it was a subject of much discussion in the last month, as you all know. So well done. Well done. Now we have to do our.
Yeah, so now the hard part begins.
Yeah.
From a legislative standpoint, so the couple things, one is the decoupling bill, which is most likely gonna work its way into the yield bill.
You will not see it on the agenda for the Ways and Means Committee this week because it'll be in the yield bill discussion. The yield bill is the one that we passed that sets the tax rate, the property tax rate, and has everything related to education spending in there. So that will probably be where it is. It's not a slam dunk yet. We're actually trying to figure out what the decoupling would do to overall property tax rates across the state. Because it does have an impact, fiscal impact, and we have to have some testimony on that. So we're trying to figure that out.
And I just would point out for people that don't know, all the money bills start in the House. So so the House is the most actively engaged at the moment in all the finance bills, tax and appropriation, so Ways and Means and the appropriations. So Charlie is your perfect person at this moment. But it does make me realize that after crossover, after all things are through the money committees in the House and to the Senate, we then should meet probably with you guys on a Monday to see what's actually happened.
Yeah, so if we carry the basketball analogy,
Yeah. And he is our neighborhood star, just pointing out that he is the Gulf Avenue cross street, neighborhood star.
so we're not yet at halftime.
Yeah.
The end of this week is going to be halftime in the legislative session. And then we take a break and not much of a break and really get back to it where the bills in the House go over to the Senate and vice versa. So even if it passes out of the House, that doesn't guarantee anything. And same thing with it passes out of the Senate, it doesn't guarantee anything. So it's very much a lot of game left. It's still in the analogy, not to make it sound like a game. The other piece is on where's the state aid for school construction. So if we look at Act 73 and what was in there, it does talk about a few different things. One is prioritizing school projects and who is responsible for that. And then there is a state aid for school construction advisory board comprised of, I think, 8 people. And they are responsible for recommending to the Agency of Education how to prioritize projects. I say this because remember, there's $6 billion or $6.2 billion of school projects that have been identified across the state. State can't afford to do all that. So it's a question of prioritizing those projects and figuring out which ones rise to the top. So in conversations with the state treasurer, the head of the Vermont Bond Bank, other leaders in the legislature, trying to figure out how do we go about doing that. And that's the process we're right now. So there are other models from other states that we're looking at, whether it's Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Ohio, Delaware, Maine, to figure out how they were using general fund dollars to help reduce what districts would be responsible for. You might know that there was a introduction of language to come up with 100% in a grant essentially to pay for any new school construction projects. That's okay, except that it has to live outside of the education fund. So where's the money coming from? There are different proposals for whether it's an increase in the rooms and meals tax, an increase in another tax over a certain dollar of income. But that's not yet decided. So still trying to figure that out. There's also discussions about what is the bonding capacity of the state.
Because that's how it used to be funded.
Yes, but it's getting into the weeds of taxes, which you probably don't want to know. But in terms of, that has to be an obligation of the school district, whatever that district looks like, and not an obligation of the state. So then that doesn't hurt the overall bond rating for the state. So it's it's structured in a way so it doesn't hurt the state's credit rating when it goes out to borrow money for a lot of different projects. It's about 800, 900 million outstanding with the bond bank right now. So it's a lot of money that's outstanding, but just trying to figure out what that does to interest rates. That's the biggest thing, is it impacts what the interest rate is and the cost of borrowing. So working on that. I'm gonna just add a couple more things and then I'll stop talking. First, yes, Michael Hoyt. Michael, are you still there?
Yes.
I am still here, yep.
Michael is the newly appointed representative representing, what do you represent, Michael?
I represent Windsor 4, so that's Barnard, Bridgewater, Pomfret, and then in Hartford, it's West Hartford and a swath of Queechee.
Great. And Michael serves on the Environment Committee, House Environment.
I'm on the Environment Committee, yes.
And he sits right next to me on the floor, so I'm trying to, keep him on the straight and narrow in the House.
Well, good luck.
Charlie's been very helpful bringing me up to speed. So is Allison on all these issues involving education, particularly the concerns that are specific to this particular district. And it's great to have them both. They're great resources. I enjoy my working relationship with them. I've known Allison quite a while, actually. I was an attorney for the Vermont legislature, and I think I met her back early on in her legislative journey. So. I'd just like to introduce myself, and I hope you'll reach out to me with any questions or concerns that you have.
Michael is not only a former legislative council lawyer, but he's also a former chair of the select board in Hartford. Are you still
That's
chair?
true, yes. I just finished up 5 years on the Hartford Select Board. I served as chair for 3 of them. I live in West Hartford with my wife, Natalie. I work at Dartmouth College. I grew up in Norwich, went to UVM. I got my law degree at Vanderbilt. And like I mentioned, I worked for the Vermont legislature. I worked for the Vermont Department of Labor before taking my current position at the college. And like I said, I really hope you'll reach out to me. And I'm lucky that I have Allison and Charlie to lean on to help me sort of navigate these educational issues. So thank you.
Thank you.
So there is a bill coming up this week in the legislature for a vote on non-compete agreements in the House. And that wouldn't ordinarily be anything connected to education, except there is an amendment being offered by a representative. And have you talked about it, Troy?
I know it.
Troy's
Okay.
amendment.
Yeah, somehow I'm getting a lot of emails on this particular amendment from the school community.
Funny, I am too, and I have to remind them I can't vote on it.
Yeah, and I just got the language today, so somebody else got the language before we did. Which basically adds something to put in there to take out the part that says a teacher under contract to teach in a public school who fails without just cause to complete the term for which the teacher contracted to teach shall be disqualified to teach in any public school for the remainder of the school year. So this is existing statute. So if you were actively interviewing for a job at a different school, you could not leave your position as a public school teacher and teach in another public school. That's what the current law is, and that's what this is trying to change. I'm not sure love to hear your feedback on that and how that might affect you. The other one is there's a proposal to add an inflation adjustment for the census block grants for special ed. Doing away with the old calculation of how you get there. So starting with, I think, 2026 fiscal year to be effective for 2027. That's all I have.
It's a lot. Neither of us serve on an education committee. I serve on Senate Development, Housing and General Affairs. And in that capacity, have joint jurisdiction with career and technical education, with workforce development, with the Senate Education Committee. And a piece at play in all this redistricting and in our re-envisioning education governance, delivery and funding is career and technical education. How is it incorporated into the new vision for how we deliver education? And I think everyone's ideal model is a regional comprehensive high schools, middle and high school. And particularly as we're trying to encourage more and more introduction to career and technical education at an earlier age, so people find their bliss and get excited earlier on, so we reduce the dropout rate and really get people engaged and excited about something earlier on. The point of this all is that there are fairly grandiose notions of sort of visionary ideas about what to do with career and technical education with no bridge from the reality of today to these regional comprehensive high schools.
Well said.
Thank you. Is that a way to sort of
That's a very kind way of saying what the situation is.
So Sharon and I are on the same page, I think, on this, and the bill in the Senate, and I can't really, the bill in the House that's being considered about this is the agencies, Agency of Education's bill, and which needs a vast amount of work and is not gonna make it to crossover. It's not gonna be done in time, so the Senate is having to ramp up its effort, and it has this sort of a bill, well, it has a bill that's very aspirational and that they haven't had any time to work on. But I think they're just gonna pass it as an aspirational piece just to get it to the Senate, to the House, to keep that work going. Because without that vehicle, they aren't gonna be able to send anything back on career and technical education. The challenge we face for career and technical education is improving it now, which it desperately needs, the financing and the and reducing some of the barriers to it. We need to be working on that now, not just envisioning it for the future. So building that bridge to the future is really what I am very committed to working on with Mike Marcotte, and we'll hopefully get there. But that's a compliment to some of the financial work that Charlie's working on in Ways and Means, which I remember with great fondness those days. And so that is, and then the Senate, of course, as you know, the competing visions for how we deliver education and education governance are, I just have to say, they're two completely different visions. They're competing in large measure. I have they're sort of broad strokes on them, but one is a more mandatory vision with reducing school choice, enabling school choice in the 4 historic academies. And the Senate version is voluntary over a 2-year period, designed around keeping school choice. That's a gross simplification, but that's a gross simplification. It's probably what it deserves right now because we're so far from being set.
I wouldn't say the House is unified in its view.
And nobody's unified on their view. And that is one of our challenges. The House isn't unified, the Senate is certainly not unified. And so I have never in my time in the legislature experienced an issue that, well, this has always been a divisive issue because everyone has different values about it and different notions of it. But we are so not ready to row together on this. And so it'll be very interesting. We have until the end of the week, this week, to come up with the bill that education is going to pass out of the House committee and out of the Senate committee. And we're going to have to, by the end of May, early June, come up with a unified vision of what we're doing to move forward. So we have a lot of work to do on this subject.
Very, very high stakes work.
High stakes work, indeed. Yes, and I don't think that we're close in the House among themselves or in the Senate among ourselves. So it's really challenging.
I got a question. So with regards to the construction funding, are they taking into consideration the very reality of us passing this bond and they're getting a $112 million school for $28 million?
Right, so
they're not getting, we're getting, but
yeah, I was gonna say, recognizing the contingencies about both and the bill as it passed. Very aware that the school bond passed. So we haven't met as a group since the vote yet. So we'll be, I'm sure, taking it up. This school vote was definitely a big subject of conversation about, well, yeah, we know you guys need it, so how are we gonna fit that in and that kind of stuff. But then it was a question of, well, it's still a small school. So it's not big enough. So how do we make that bigger? How do we coordinate with other people? So there's that conversation going on at the same time when somebody's saying it needs to be bigger.
Or comprehensive.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how to resolve that necessarily within, talking about the conversations that you had started with Hartford and Windsor and about coordinating, looking at maximizing the use of campuses. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
And has to be part of the solution, whatever that looks like. I don't know what it is.
And I'd say our colleagues are quite excited that we had, before this vote had entered into that conversation, and we're beginning voluntarily. The regionalization of our, of school education, of education delivery in our neck of the woods. So it's exciting, but hold us up. We need your support and patience because it's thorny. It's thorny.
When they say bigger, what is bigger?
Right, that's a big, and it's comprehensive.
Well, you know, it's interesting, they look at not only the cost per square foot of the building, but you know, how many square feet per student. And so one state that I looked at, I think it was Ohio, that has a measurement of cost per square foot for a new building is also square feet per student. That has not been specified at all by the advisory board at this point. But when they're talking about you're spending this much for how many students? Like, well, 600 is being built for 600, but it could go to 750, and so there's those discussions that go on. Like, well, it needs to be bigger. So they don't say how big. So there's nothing definitive on that score. I would be telling you tales if it said it has to be 737. No idea.
Corinne has her hand up.
Oh, and so is Ryan.
Did Brian had his hand up?
That's all right.
Brian, then Corinne. Hi, Corinne.
You can go with Corinne first, cause I have the most
Alright.
deviation.
Corinne, go ahead.
Just quickly, hello, curious, Charlie, who's saying that needs to be bigger? And then Allison, yeah, I heard somebody in the room also ask this question when you sort of emphasized and comprehensive. What do you mean, or what are people meaning by that exactly?
In terms of who is saying larger, even speaking with the Secretary of Education or the Deputy Secretary of Education, they both said that. And within the legislature, speaking to the folks that are trying to figure out how many schools that could be funded, that becomes the other question of how much bonding capacity the state has. So those are conversations just on the money end, about how much bond capacity can the state handle. So trying to spread it out to serve the biggest number of students. So I wouldn't attribute it to any one person.
Sure, no, that helps, thanks.
And Corinne, comprehensive, just as people think about what to invest in as we regionalize our education delivery, more and more wanting to do regional and comprehensive middle and high schools, so that it's the full, so that we aren't don't end up with the same transportation challenge we face with career and technical education as we have.
Well, yeah, and I guess, so does that mean, how is comprehensive distinct from saying this needs to be a career and technical campus?
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, got it. That's what we need. It is what the state needs and society.
Because there are ways in which you can have, well, anyway, I won't get into that, but I'm curious about this question because there's ways in which you can be a complement, right, to career and tech center that's, you know, not exactly next door, but and also have students be able to access both the way that we are, and we could do more in terms of certain, you know, career pathways. But I think that that's important to keep that a part of the conversation, because I feel like if access is an issue for getting, you know, access to programming for all the students across Vermont, there could be an argument to be made that you can provide more access if you have, you know, maybe more campuses that complement each other in terms of what they're offering, even within sort of looking at, you know, tech career tech.
Well, that's the plus, that's Corinne, that's the plus, I think, of your conversation with Windsor and Hartford, is you have a very developed campus that could be the career and technical education campus. The problem is that still divides anyway. Yeah. Yeah, that's a possibility. It's just, I think the challenge is that we want to reduce distance between career and technical education opportunities and mainstream high school. I think that's the goal long-term.
Right, but we also have to reflect on, we got 20 students out of 300 who access that annually.
Right.
So are we designing a high school for 20 students? Or are we designing a high school for 200?
Or if that was comprehensive, maybe there'd be 150 kids doing CTE instead of just
There
20.
won't. I mean, I just.
Yeah,
I don't
know,
keep
I
hearing
I'm
that
just
we need
saying.
more plumbers. Kids don't want to be, I mean, I just wanna, I have conversations every day.
But
And I would love,
we
we have
do have
partnerships.
kids on a waiting list that do want to do career tech and
Correct.
get in.
We do, and
Very few. And most kids
Yep.
get their first choice, and if not, there's, I mean, it's hard.
You're right.
There's a lot here.
yeah, there's a lot here that's the plus of your conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, is it possible that we can advocate to the state to set up toll booths for out-of-staters to pay for this shit? I think we would all agree with that. Out-of-state plates, toll. Take it back to you guys' fund, it'd be wonderful.
We have a $33 million gap, Ryan, in our transportation budget. Everything is on the table.
Is anything getting cut before we can't completely suit the needs of all the students in Vermont? Like, are we looking to just raise taxes on stuff? Or, cause like, to me, that's a flagrant one, maybe technical about. But instead of new taxes coming in, can we cut from certain programs in the state?
Everyone wants to cut something they're not involved in, and there is an advocate for every line in that budget. Every line of that $9.2 billion budget has an advocate that is really smart and articulate and full of need. Vermonters have real needs. It's not like it's so easy to just cut, and we're, by not increasing things, cutting them. As we know with education, when you level fund something, that's basically cutting it. And that is what's happening. This budget is a very lean budget, and I would say that most things are being level funded and or cut. And that is really tough on many needs for many Vermonters.
A recent example, it was 2 years ago, like when the institution of the payroll tax to pay for the children financial assistance program, the child care trust fund, to help with daycare, to help with childcare. And that has been very successful in terms of making more spots available and really helping parents get back to work. So all of that has helped immensely, but that was a new program that was put in place after years and years of study. It wasn't just plopped down. So that was a great program. What we're looking at now is where is the intersection between what we call CCFAP, Child Care Financial Assistance Program, and universal pre-K. And what's delivered in a private setting, what's delivered in the public setting, whether it's a school system, to figure out who's paying for what.
Yeah.
Out of that. So that's a very live conversation to figure that out. Because in some private settings, they only get the 10 hours, the $3,800 for the year. To the parents to pay for that in their private setting. Whereas in a lot of the schools, there's maybe 20 hours per week that's paid for, and that's included in the education fund overall. So that's kind of, those are very active conversations that are helping. So everything we're trying to figure out, do we need this program? Do we need that program? And every one is painful when you start to cut it out. So it's a great program. Looking at it.
But I'd encourage you to take a moment watching the appropriations committees go through the requests, and on YouTube, you can watch their committee meetings. There isn't any fat. I mean, it's really, we're gonna be cutting things that matter to people big time and have big impact.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Recent updates on taxing non-locals with second homes in Vermont.
They are taxed.
Well, taxing them more highly, sorry, yeah.
There is that discussion, and it's most actively in play in Charlie's committee.
Yeah, so we're working with the tax commission to set that up, so there can be different tax rates, so there has to be what's called a DUA, which is a dwelling use attestation form. It's a terrible name, have to rename it. But that is identifying what qualifies as a dwelling first, and how many units, dwelling units are in a building. How those units are being used, whether it's primary, second home, or maybe short-term rental, and then making sure they're classified properly. So right now, and that's all in Act 73 and following up on it, so it's creating this different tax classifications. So it's moving forward, and definitely that is the intent. To at least have the same tax rate or give the legislature the ability to set different tax rates. And again, for every time we talk about setting a tax rate higher for somebody else, then that group is going to come and talk to us about why that's not a good idea. And that happens with everything that we talk about.
Yeah.
Even if so, just stick to the second homeowners. Like, I had a woman who's living in Weston, works in New York. And with the bill the way it is, then she had to go back to the office. And so now she has to rent an apartment in Albany, but she really lives in Weston. So her concern is she's going to be a second homeowner in Weston, even though it's her primary home. So for every one that we change, there's some unintended consequences out here.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Regarding the desire for the school to be more comprehensive in VOTEC, is there any option for us to use and expand our 3C program to become more comprehensive through apprenticeships with local businesses?
Good question. I don't know if anybody wants to answer that.
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, there's even a concept of tech light, with your STEM programs and what can you do that doesn't require heavy machinery and supervised setting. There's great programs that can be done on a local level that's not necessarily, some of the
We're already doing some of
trades
it.
programs, yeah.
Yeah, we're already doing some of those. And our apprenticeship program is very robust, our Department of Labor, and when we have great apprenticeships, we have actually many more than you think, and great internships.
Yeah, students can come to C3 and work with Brian Duff and offer it. We just had a student complete a apprenticeship on music.
Yeah.
So, and we are in a community, and just as someone who set this program years ago, we had so many community volunteers who are more than willing to bring high school students into their shops and their businesses and train. And I mean, we are in an amazing community who are really welcoming students to come in. And so the student has an idea, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's been great, and it's credit bearing, and it's highly supervised, and there's lots of components in it, so thank you for asking.
So I just would hope that if you hear that comment again, oh, it's
Yeah.
not comprehensive. It doesn't look traditionally comprehensive, but we can make it work.
Yeah, I had list 50 employers that of range and diverse in terms, Woodstock, yeah.
Including plumbers.
Including plumbers, you just gotta be careful of OSHA regulations, and if it plugs in the wall, you can't use it, but other than that. But for the most part, there's lots of our Kedron garage, there are so many where our students have really learned the field and had an opportunity to work in the field and see if that's for them or not. It's been great.
Anna, you had a question.
Yeah, this is for, I mean, I know it's really hard to ask you guys questions, but I just had a question on that, just as I'm new to this. When you say that, like, if a student comes to us with an idea, we can make that happen, is that to mean that it's always kind of like a push on behalf of the students versus, I would imagine if it's like and I'm just really new to all this, so that does seem like more work on behalf of the student to kind of get that set up, I'm sure, like versus if it was like a technical center, they could just kind of sign up. I don't know.
So it starts in 8th grade. We have 2 new people in our C3 program. But in 8th grade, we begin having conversations with students about careers and opportunities. I know this week, Wednesday, they're going to Hartford and spending a day at Hartford and touring the tech center. We have a new course called Future You, where students begin to explore ideas and have think and look at mentors, have conversations about what are all the different opportunities I have, developing plans for that. So there's lots of opportunities along the way. We have Job Shadow Day, which is sophomore year, where every single sophomore goes out and shadows in a field from Dartmouth Hospital up to, you know, locally, so students pick and follow an opportunity. So there's a lot of interaction between, you know, and we have a lot of students who are involved in C3 for all kinds of opportunities. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a TA for APGov with C3, and I'm also writing a book with one of the teachers as an editor for C3, and you can really just go to them. You like say, here's my plan, here's how I want to make it happen. They have you like write out an essay to propose your thing, and then you're pretty much good to go. It's really cool.
But I guess, but that does answer my question though, that it's not like the kid, like the students have to go and make it happen.
Yes, you do have to go and make it happen, yeah.
Okay. Well, I would hope in seventh and eighth grade, actually, the opportunities would be outlined for students. Students don't
good.
have to be totally self-starting here.
Yeah.
They are hopefully excited by what is also offered and what is clearly marketed to them as opportunities.
And having students as TAs in our class through C3, we have quite a few TAs that are in all kinds of classes. So they're seeing and observing other students who are part of that.
TAs are just teaching assistants?
Yeah.
Except your students.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, I'm
You're
not,
trained to be.
right, like I can grade papers if the name is like marked off and I can't see it. Like multiple choice, obviously, I like pass out papers in AP Gov specifically. I like go around and I talk to the people about, you know, what they're thinking, what sort of argument they're developing. I might, you know, have a like small debate with them just to like challenge their ideas. It's cool.
And I guess, another question I have, you know, Charlie, when you're talking about, you know, the committee being excited or like hearing that we've passed this bond vote and, you know, then they're coming back and saying it's not big enough and I guess, and again, I'm really new at all this, but to what degree is it weighed, like, it sounds like what they think is more optimal, you know, in a perfect world that isn't reality, like might be great, but you know, in terms of all of the work we had to go into to get this passed, and then I think about, you know, like when I follow online some of the commentary that's come out since then, I think what's I've found interesting is like all of the negative commentary I've seen has been from people in Hartford, where people they're like, what are you doing passing this? And like, isn't this gonna come? And it's, which is, you know, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, that's fine. I guess I'm just wondering, like, somewhere in between this like fictional, wonderful land that they're trying to imagine, which not to say that they are, versus like actually getting things done and passed with everybody on the same board, like, how does that, like, how does the reality of like, getting everybody to agree and whatnot play in to what they're thinking about should be like the best.
The idea.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm asking that correctly, but
No, I think you're pretty clear.
It's a fair point. I mean,
Very fair.
there's an important point to recognize is that the state we're in and the state that's envisioned in Act 73 are two totally different things.
totally.
So that when you're talking about first the excess spending threshold and Act 73 with a foundation formula that doesn't exist, but you're limited to what the state gives you unless you want to go back out to the voters and say, can you give us some more? So that is a totally different way of thinking about it. And the second part is on school construction with state aid now being reinstituted. Well, how does that money get meted out? Not even where it's coming from, but so to prioritize what schools receive that money, that prioritization list hasn't been completed yet. So with the conversation, the current state we're in, when any school passes a state budget and takes on that bond vote and you're increasing your spending on that, then because it's a statewide education fund, it essentially raises everybody's taxes across the state.
Sure.
So you might be you're gonna have a higher rate for the school district that passes it because your per pupil spending is higher, but essentially it's shared among all the others. So when Burlington passed its school bond, I was talking to a representative, said, no, we're paying for all of that ourselves. Like, no, you're not. So that's, I think, concern from other communities is twofold. One is you moved ahead with this and it's going to increase spending and we don't know what the future state is. So I think that's some of the uncertainty. But the fact that you had a comprehensive planning process dating back to 2016, several iterations of the design, coming back to the voters, showing there's community support about this, that carries water. Now, where that water goes, I don't know yet.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to figure out. And so it can't be just, I think there's a feeling that the school district that it serves has to be either larger or coordinated with the other high schools that are within close proximity. I've had arguments with somebody in the house about, hey, let's just put something at exit 9 right by the interstate, and that'll be the comprehensive high school for the area. It's like, no, we can't. That's not going to serve the kids from Killington. That's not going to serve the kids from Plymouth. Thinking about the areas, so that doesn't work. So it has to be a combination of all those things. Yeah.
And don't forget that I do have a few questions.
Yeah, and I sadly have to go to some certain point because we have to all eat and be up at the State House tomorrow morning. Is that
For assess questions.
Well, I mean, I can also email you these questions,
I
but
think that,
they're more around what we can do. Like what can we do? We feel like we haven't.
you
our
just
vo-
did a big thing.
No, but I mean, our voice, how can we have our voices heard? Because I know there's this perception that we're all rich here and we just want a beautiful school because we're so rich, which is not true.
It's not true, but that is.
About that.
One of the perceptions.
And the grand list includes all the second homeowners, which drives up our grand list, and that needs to be pointed out over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on a fixed income.
Right.
I'm a
And
teacher's
make-
salary, okay? I'm not rich. I have a little small house. It's falling apart. So there's plenty of people like me in these towns. It's not just Woodstock. It's all of our towns have wealth and they have poverty, every single town.
We are clear.
So do you need us to provide statistics around that?
I think we need to ourselves, the legislature has to make some more progress on figuring out what we're actually gonna pass each of the bodies. And I think targeted advocacy will be very helpful when we have something that's worth advocating for.
There might be a,
And fear is it's gonna be too late.
yeah,
And then things that are gonna happen that have severe consequences. So this is a very important week. And there's some very important legislation on the table that could have some severe.
It's true, but people, quite honestly, no one reads emails from people that aren't in their district.
Yeah.
So it's, you can flood the education committee with emails, but is that fair? I mean, that's a fair thing to say, right? So you can flood them with emails supporting whatever plan you're supporting, but I'm not even clear on what the plans are that they're voting on yet fully. Are you?
I think it would be great to have a coordinated marketing campaign, a letter writing campaign. I can't tell you who to send it to, not on camera. But that does celebrate the fact that the school bond was passed.
Yes.
And that why it was passed and why that's important and why in this moment it needs to go forward, while there's still a lot of uncertainty.
Yes.
I think the bills about decoupling, the bills about coming up with a funding source for state aid, those are critical. And that's really what your bond vote was about as well. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And the people writing about the amendment to H205 was quick. So, but it also can't be the form letter you just press and say, boom, because that just doesn't work. The form letters don't work.
Is there a state Act 73 is being modeled after? Like, is there a state that has the best revenue or tax revenue to student education outcome that we're trying to follow? I mean, if you guys are divided into 2 levels, which one's picking the better state to go after?
You'd have to take all the pieces because the state aid for school construction is modeled after Rhode Island.
Right.
The school foundation formula is modeled after like 44 other states that use it.
But the problem is though, 73, the funding formula is dependent on a map.
Right, and the map,
That's where
the map is where everyone's divided.
Correct.
Districts, large.
So-
The district piece is the most divisive piece. School choice is a hugely divisive piece. And the maps, I would say those are those two, and I don't know, quite honestly, yes, targeted, yeah.
So, and Ryan, so if a map isn't passed, there's no funding formula change.
Right.
So that's why this is very high stakes. It's high stakes because some towns really want choice. They're invested in it. That's why people move there. There are other communities that don't want choice. There are communities that are dependent on their independent private schools. So there's a lot of, as they say, skin in the game for different communities for different reasons. And we need a funding formula. We need a clear, concise way to talk about how do we pay for schools and education and where it impacts its taxes and where it doesn't. That won't happen if we don't have a map. The current funding formula, I will say, this is me, has many flaws that need to be worked out and need to be modeled and modeled on current numbers. So what they're saying is we can't model the new funding formula unless we have a map.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean.
I get that, and I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
just confused on how this has been such a hot topic for
Mhm.
months, and we're still, I don't know, maybe,
going around.
sure,
Decade,
kinda.
centuries.
I mean, we're putting our vote and our support into it, and now we're just still waiting. Like, when did the community get results or progress, so we at least have an indication? Cause like every question being asked is not really being, I mean, you're answering, I don't wanna be an asshole.
We
But
appreciate that.
they're
Thank
not all,
Thank
but
you.
they're also not really being answered, they're all, you know, no, well, that goes to this fund, this goes to this fund, this goes to this fund. Like that's nothing we can change, that's you guys. We've done our part, we put a 10-year effort into getting this bond passed. With the expectations and hope that the state would value our efforts and voice. And all we're hearing is maybe. Sure, yeah, no.
I would use the analogy, you jumped into a very fast moving stream.
Right.
And trying to get to the other side, it may not be where you think you're going.
Right. And I'm just concerned that Sarit didn't ask her question because you really had a question and now we've kept talking, so.
I don't know, I think that like when Emily Kornheiser was here talking about how, you know, she drives down Woodstock and sees how like wealthy it is, the lush. She doesn't understand that there's this huge economic diversity here. There's many different people under many, it's a hood. So I think that idea of having like really spelling out the demographics of what's going on in our district with numbers, I think that's a really good idea. And I'd also like to know, like, is there any consideration about this like Act 60 that happened back in the 90s and how much money this area has contributed to the huge pool of money that's gone into the education fund over like decades?
Just remember that Emily has Charlie. Emily has Charlie Kimball on her committee. So Emily is
Emily
very
also
aware of.
Who put forward this decoupling issue in like the middle of the night, like. It's like saying, okay, let's charge double for this school just to make sure that they don't get the bond. Did you kind of like sabotage this? That's where this all came from, or am I mistaken?
No, not really. I mean, she was involved with the discussions, but she doesn't have it personally out for Mountain Views,
Because
that
it
I
sounded
know.
like she did when she was here.
Yeah, I know, that was at the
That was-
very end. It was not a great moment, but.
Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's very clear.
Yeah, she knows that it was not a great moment.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt, yeah.
She needs to know the economic diversity that's here and like what, you know, and I think that if there's a way, Carrie, that we could like spell it out, like,
Yeah,
how, you know, what
I
the
think that's.
median or what the incomes for the.
It's not just her though, I mean, that's one money committee, the institutions committee, which does the bonding and it's gonna be very involved in this, the treasurer's office, all the, you know, it's everybody that needs to appreciate this, and I think we are certainly strong advocates for the diversity in our communities and the needs in our communities. And the needs for the school.
Just starting out, man.
I was wondering, just like, where is this bill in the like, has it entered committee yet?
We're already way past that. You arrived a little late, so we have been chatting about it. We are at crossover, so we can fill you in, or you can. We're poised at a very important junction on which maps are gonna go forward and which And there's gonna be two maps that go forward in redistricting, one from the Senate, one from the House, and the conversation is,
And you believe the crossover will happen for both of them?
it's gonna have to, it's a top priority.
There's always the ability to have an exception to crossover, and that's what probably what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I was arguing more, we talked about like a decoupling bill, is this included amended in?
Charlie spoke to that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We can,
The other thing I wanted to just put on the table is that when you said bigger, that's why I asked the question. There are districts around us that have contacted us to say, we'd like to get out of our district. And or they might be in one of the towns in our region that we've all talked about.
Yeah.
right,
You know, working together, but I've had a really hard time getting anyone to even agree to a meeting.
Yeah.
I've made 2 efforts on that. I'm gonna make another one after, now that we've.
I mean, on the triangular.
Yes, the three.
We're having a hard time moving it forward.
No, well, not moving it forward, just getting to the conversation because so much is still unknown and especially because of. You know, at one point they were gonna get rid of all of our articles of agreement and just get rid of them. And now, you know, I haven't heard anything about that, but there are communities that might like to move out of the district they're currently in. And into another district.
And they're about to maybe be put into a district they don't even wanna be in.
Yeah,
By these maps.
That is correct.
So,
And they're all reasonable drives if the families want to do that, you know what I mean? It's not like an outlandish commute.
Yeah. So that's defense is a good offense. I mean, you've definitely did that with the best offense with the vote on a new school. To continue that with alliances with the school districts and trying to configure as to this is what we think is really gonna work. Might be enough to break the logjam in this period of uncertainty.
Okay.
Now that sounds like a lot of words, but I think it's true. That's to say, with confidence, we're gonna do this and bring the people along. That has a great possibility of winning.
assurance, going forward with assurance. And you have the support of these communities, which is great, yeah. I mean, so that's the additional quiver in your.
Right.
Arrow in your quiver.
Thank you.
What
Arrow in the quiver.
What medium do we need to like start working in to dispel this notion that we just want a new school? Cause we're like, we want a fancy school and we're all rich. Like, is it Instagram? Do we need like pamphlets? We had an Instagram with like all the things that are happening, like, oh, the ceiling tile fell, it could have hit someone's head. Oh, it's leaking on our head. Like, what do we need to start working and what do we need to start creating so people can see that that is really not the
The
case?
fact that we're in the top 2 or 3 worst condition schools is a data point that is very clear. Everybody's very clear on that.
But do people, do they believe it? Cause.
Yeah,
like, a lot
I
of
think
times people won't
everybody believes
believe
it. It's a fact. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a piece that everybody's pretty clear on the top 5.
I often cite the sewage backing up in the
Yeah.
locker room while
Yeah.
basketball games going
Yeah.
on, so I use that a lot.
But is that belief like still pervasive in the legislature?
People who visit, like the Senate that came and toured, they had a great understanding of what it was. They are of a mind that you guys have to have a new school.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think
So
anybody
this-
disagree with that.
No,
It's just-
okay, yeah.
Woodstock is, I have been told for the 22 years that I have been in the legislature that I represent Disneyland. The public impression of our neck of the woods, unfortunately, is at odds with the reality.
And do you think now that the bond has been passed, that the public perception like matters to getting this to move forward? Like, are people gonna be thinking about their constituents?
We're one school in this huge
Yeah.
work. I think what you've done is great.
Okay.
You put a stake in the ground, which is terrific.
As to the medium, I defer to Gina,
Oh, yeah, Gina, are you on?
Yeah, Gina's up there.
yeah, with a bird.
Gina has maybe one more question because.
Interesting. Pancho.
With
But
Pancho.
maybe one more question, and I respect
think
their.
I gotta go.
They've gotta go.
You got business.
Is that okay? Yeah, I just wanna say thank you to both. You're
Yes.
coming monthly, keeping us informed,
Great question.
reaching out to us. It's really important. Anything I can do, I mean,
I think after this period, the crossover period, it would be important for us to meet.
Okay.
Because we'll be clearer on those maps and on what Ways and Means passes out and what, you know, we're gonna it's gonna begin to gel enough for us to really.
Yeah, I think a
Focus.
strategy session with various,
And then if
Yeah.
you know of other school districts that you want to have conversations with, does it help to get the legislators that represent those districts involved in a conversation?
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
But it's slow and steady work. It's not tomorrow.
We're happy to help on that, because obviously we have strong relations with most of those, particularly those of us who are in the Senate.
I will send you some more details.
Right. That is terrific. Thank you very much
Thank
for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the
Michael as
new
well.
board members. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you, Michael, for
Yeah.
coming tonight.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks so
thank you.
much.
Thank you for welcoming us.
You're always welcome. Life, I believe you're always welcome. Thank you. Okay. Right, we are supposed to be now going to an annual meeting results, and I cannot pull that up on the phone, so I don't know if you can pull it up. I don't think it's printed out in here.
Is it in the board?
It's a link in the board. But I.
Sorry, I get
Five.
Like keep hammering, because you're the voice, I don't want to make that, you're the one who looks over now.
Don't get dizzy.
It's very clear to me. First appearance.
Right. That's what it's true. I was like,
All right, coming back.
All right, everybody, people have been asking for this information, so it's timely, including board members who've said, I didn't see the results of the votes. But, doesn't give you all the information you might want, but, that's what we have. As far as votes in favor, votes, opposed to the first article, I'm sorry, the budget. And then the wastewater, you can see, was very heavily favored, as was the new boilers bond, heavily favored. And I would as well say that the new school building bond was also quite well, in ahead of the mills. So it was not close in any way. Yes.
Before we keep scrolling,
Oh, I'm sorry.
several people in Bridgewater are asking me about Articles 5, 6, and 7. And I came back with, I have no idea, because we didn't unless I had a complete brain fart, I don't feel like we discussed that as a board, like who's running, what these positions are, so I felt very uninformed, so maybe just for next year, if we could talk about those positions. I think that would really help me get the word out.
Yeah, what is the role of the moderator?
At the annual meeting, that February 26th, they would be the moderator at that meeting.
We have someone.
Yeah, we had a moderator.
Oh.
Who was it?
I don't know.
Was it Matt Maxon?
Usually we invite Madam. No one ever runs for that position, and Raina was in the clerk position, but she is not wanting to be in that position any longer, so no one ran for that position either.
Yeah.
So what happens with those?
Well, I assume that we could try to appoint somebody, ask around if in our communities, it could be any of the communities. It's not just a Woodstock choice, it's, and if anyone knows of a person who would like to serve as the moderator or serve as the clerk, feel free to reach out and we could bring it up either the next meeting or one after that. It doesn't need to be done until March, so.
So until we have a clerk, who's taking minutes,
No, we have a minute taker, and that's,
oh,
a
clerk
clerk
is
is
different.
different.
What does clerk do then?
You want to explain, Jim?
Sure, the elected clerk, the one on the ballot, does all the work for your annual meeting as far as the ballots, all the legal work with that.
So, right, so Raina did like, so all, when we had the bond and we had to have voting and she worked with all the other town clerks to make sure that was organized. Works on getting the ballots in place, making sure ballots are sent out at the right time and follow the current law. I mean, there's a lot, it's
And
mostly.
communicates with all of us when our terms are up and all that.
Right, managing all those pieces.
Also, when I bring the notes for you to sign for the tax anticipation of, or for the bond, the clerk's involved in that process, because they have to sign and attest that it was actually you who took the vote. And that's different than your board clerk who records the activity of.
That one I know, yeah, I got that. Is there a salary associated with clerk or just the treasurer?
I don't know.
Treasurer.
Because it sounds like a lot of work for a clerk.
But it's if it is, it's a very small fee. A few $1,000s.
And unlike the treasurer, she's been paid hourly and so there's not a salary like the treasurer who gets the $7,500 a year that you, the voters, in Article 8 determined she should get.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Raina's done an amazing job for.
At times of year, it's a very busy job.
So at this point, we're trying to fill it potentially with somebody who already works for the district, like Raina did.
Doesn't have to be.
No.
We think we can get a community member to volunteer to do.
Oh, I'm not thinking of anything. It's hard, it's a
Yeah.
hard role and you really have to have a deep understanding. So if it's a retired clerk, someone who's been a clerk in the past, who understands the role of a town clerk, that would be ideal. I mean, Raina has served in local government in Reading in a lot of different ways, so has a really good understanding of relationships with all clerks. Because she's done it for so many years in the 7 towns. It's a hard job. It's not easy.
Should we find a way to make some funding?
We can work on that. I mean, it's 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
but I think
but-
that's Carrie's job.
Okay, Carrie will work on that.
Yeah, and if you could, if we could work on that, if you could send something in writing, I can publicize
Sure.
that we need these positions and these are what the positions are and stuff.
Super.
Okay. And, so that's the vote on the $7,500, and then there's a list of those who were elected. If you wanted to get the ballot numbers, you'd need to contact your own town clerk, who should have published it somewhere, but it may be on their website, on its town
Actually,
website.
if you link from this, Sherry, if you go back up to the top. And just double click any one of those towns,
Okay, that's right, they have that.
all the individual towns are behind it. And that is linked into your board book, so you can do that.
Yeah, we're totally all looking at that.
I'm sure.
All right. Any questions on the review of the annual meeting? All right, we will now move into 2 new hires. The first one is Amanda Rank has been recommended as the Reading principal as well as special educator. And I don't know if you want to speak about.
Well,
Amanda?
Rap, do you want to speak to us, the one who, Rap and Jen led that search? Do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, Dan and I led the process and we interviewed, we had a shallow pool of candidates, but we interviewed 2 candidates and after interviewing candidates, the committee had a unanimous decision to move Amanda forward to the position. Amanda had an outstanding interview. She had amazing references and a lot of positive feedback from folks in the community of Reading around the board. So it was a great process.
Great.
And at the end of it, we recommended maybe having the community meet her, do another meet and greet, and they said, oh, forget about it, we just want to do a celebration. So they were very excited to have her.
Yeah, I want to throw a party.
Yeah.
Good.
You're gonna make a motion?
Is there a motion to act on the recommendation to hire Amanda Rank?
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion that we move forward with new hire as permanent principal Amanda Rank at Reading Elementary School.
Gina?
Second.
All right,
Gotta speak up, Josh.
I think the two representatives from Reading should have that. All right, so it's been moved and seconded, all in favor of hiring Amanda Wright to the permanent position of principal and special educator at Reading.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, thank you, everybody. And the second is a Benjamin Buckland, who would be a special education teacher at WUHSMS. Is that for this year?
No, that would be for the fall. I interviewed him last week. He is he grew up in the Northeast Kingdom, served in the military, has been teaching in Texas for the last few years, wants to return to Vermont. I was told by those who interviewed him, that if I didn't hire and move his name forward, that I would lose all credibility with that group. So I'm very excited for Ben to join the team. I think he brings a very unique perspective based on some of his life experience and his commitment for special education in the high school, which very few people want to go that pathway. And I just had an amazing conversation. So I highly recommend Ben Buckland for the high school special education teacher position.
Is there a motion to approve? Josh?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
There you go. Okay. Is that Ryan? Did you
You're
get
on.
that in?
That's up to Carrie to choose.
All right.
That was so tedious, I wasn't really sure.
All right, so all in favor of hiring Benjamin Buckland, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, thank you very much. We also have 3 resignations to approve here, or to accept, I should say. The first one is Peg Fothergill.
So Mary Guggenberger's on.
Mary, would you like to say something about Peg?
I sure would. I've had the privilege of working with Peg Fothergill for the past 8 years at Killington Elementary School in her role as special educator. And in that time, Peg has been a passionate advocate for students. She always makes the time to collaborate with general education teachers and to co-teach in their classrooms, ensuring that every student she works with has the support they need to succeed. Peg has also shown incredible flexibility and dedication to the needs of our school community. One moment that truly stands out in my mind was when Killington expanded its pre-K capacity, and Peg graciously, well, she was voluntold to move from a very large, bright classroom into a much smaller space with fewer windows. But she did so without hesitation and recognizing how important early learning and intervention are for our youngest students. In true Peg fashion, she transformed that smaller room into a warm, a welcoming place where her students could learn, grow, and feel supported. So Peg brought so much more than knowledge and experience to Killington. She brings kindness, humor, patience, and a deep, unwavering belief that every child can succeed. So her impact on students and families and the staff at Killington will be felt for a long time. So Peg will be deeply missed, and we wish her all the very best in her next adventure. She's really made a difference at Killington.
Thank you. I think we'll just have all 3 and then do it as a group. Jill Karash is retiring, I believe. Devin, did you want to say something?
Yes, please. I'm just going to begin by promising that I will forget many things that Jill has done over her 32 years of teaching in this district. I've had the pleasure of working with Jill since 2018, at both at Woodstock Elementary and now at Prosper Valley. I don't know many teachers that live and breathe teaching like Jill Karash. From everything from the gardening club to taking that gardening club into the summer, being able to harvest things to bring to the Woodstock Farmers Market on the Green to sell and raise money for our school. We just tapped 26 maple trees at our property at Prosper Valley, all led by Jill. When the weather's too warm and the sap might spoil, she comes in on the weekend to start a boil, and she's got the sugar shack running to make sure that we don't lose that sap. She brings things like roving reporters, which is a must-see research project the kids have been doing for years in her class. She's been a field hockey coach. She has helped with cheering students on, both as a coach and then on the sidelines as an audience member, going to games that are kids that she hasn't had in 4 or 5 years. Jill puts the work in on the nights, the weekends. She shows up for every kid and gets to know each kid in her space in a way that not many teachers take the time to do. Lastly, the thing that I wanted to say that is in somewhere in these long notes that I have trying to pull it all together, is that when I think about Jill, I think about somebody who shows up every day trying to be her best self despite what's going on in the world, in her own personal life, or in the school, and shows up for all the kids in her building, in her classroom, and really puts her best foot forward. So I'm going to miss Jill a lot, even though the good news is that she's not going anywhere. She's going to be able to help us out in the garden and the sugar shack for years to come. So appreciate you, Jill, and good luck in the next steps.
Thank you. And Christina Stodley, I believe, is leaving imminently.
Yes, I can speak to Tina. Sadly, she has a personal situation that she has to leave on short notice. Tina's worked in our district for 4 years. She's worked at Woodstock Elementary School, she's worked in the middle school and the high school, and she's worked at Killington Elementary School with students from pre-K through 12th grade plus, with students who are doing some adult services. She has a long history of working with students with behavioral challenges, and she did some amazing work to be able to facilitate our students accessing their education, their social life in school, extracurricular activities, you name it. Most recently, she's been working in our community classroom. And if you've, been on campus or been in the building, our students are out working in businesses in the community, on campus, in various buildings. They are visiting and doing activities with Zach's Place in downtown Woodstock, and the Zach's Place folks are coming here for joint activities in our school building. She's incorporated meaningful literacy and mathematics activities in the classroom and led a really strong team of paraeducators and support staff for some of our most critical students. So she would be very missed.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the resignations?
So moved.
Thank you, John. For a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lisa. Lisa got that one in. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, thank you. Now we'll go into the committee updates, starting with finance. I believe there is no report. Matt said he's going to have a report for finance for tonight. I'll save it for the next meeting. He's traveling. And policy.
Yep, thank you.
It would be a rare night that we didn't have a report for the policy.
Thank you. So we have 2 policies to discuss. One, the first one referenced by Lauren earlier is from the VSBA. It was C-28, transgender and gender nonconforming students. I just want to mention that I'm going to just give the definition of what we're doing. Policy designed to provide direction for administrators, staff, students, and parents to address issues that may arise concerning the needs of transgender and gender expansive students. And just, we did pass the policy to the QSA, and they gave us some great suggestions and basically, agreed with most everything, but there was some terminology. And that's when we actually changed the name of it from transgender and gender nonconforming to gender expansive. And there's some other definitions and some other items that we included on their suggestion. So we would like to get a motion to move this for a second reading for next month.
Who would like to make the motion?
So
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So the terminology that's being changed, so that's gonna differ slightly from the terminology
So
from the VSBA.
yes, and we actually did have this checked out by legal and everything. We checked with them that it was okay to do that. It wasn't changing the intent or anything of the policy. But yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move it to another reading.
And I'm happy to second that.
Well, I think Ryan sneaked it in ahead of you. Sorry.
That's
Tough when
okay.
you're online.
It's okay.
All those in favor of moving it to a second reading in the next meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? All right, thank you.
Okay, and the next one is actually for adoption. It's been brought up several times. It's basically B5 employee unlawful harassment, and the basic difference between this and what we had was more explicit language. So we've already discussed this several times. This is a request to move it to have it adopted at this point.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, John. Anna, do I see you wanted to say second?
I will, and I'll take a pause in case somebody in person would like to make the second.
No, no, you're in there.
You're in.
All right, I will second the motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, thank you, that's passed.
Thank you.
For adoption. Buildings and grounds, is there a committee update for that?
So I don't think Katie's here or Joe.
No, Joe's not here tomorrow.
All right, so looking at the agenda, because I took that far back. We had a discussion about Little Branches, after school program. And, they were, it's basically, it was money, you know, how much we're gonna charge them and, what was fair and, what was fair to the district and fair to them. So we were working out, an agreement there. And same or similar with EC Fiber Lease. They are present in Barnard Academy. And we were having some struggle with them, but they actually had a representative come to the meeting and I think we're gonna be able to smooth out all of the issues with them generating. Yeah. And then the gym roof, so discussed the snow that we've received, and we had put in monitoring technology into the rafters, just to see if the snow on the roof was having an impact. And it really was, it never set off any of the alarms, so yay, glad that we spent the money on monitoring rather than spending the money on fixing something that doesn't seem to be needing to be fixed at the moment.
I will say when we were at the play this weekend, which great job. There was definitely leaking, as soon as you walk through the doors on the right, but we did have 7 tightly organized buckets to catch it all. So we are ahead of the situation,
Yeah, we
waiting on the state to get out their ass.
backstage, there were some people with water dripping on their heads, and I'm in charge of the hair and makeup department, so I was mad about it.
Well, even greater.
Okay. Negotiations, hiring and retention, committee update?
I don't think much of an update. We'll be reaching out to our counterparts. To begin discussing the next round of negotiations for contracts for teachers and support staff.
All right, and I know we have a rebuild update from Sam Stockwell.
Yes, take the hot seat up there.
Absolutely.
Vacated
Yeah.
by our delegation. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sam Stockwell, as Gary said, Seth Webb, chair of the rebuild committee is traveling, and so he asked me to attend in his stead and share a little bit. I don't know if anybody's heard, we did pass a bond last week, which is very exciting. But I just wanted to start with a huge round of thank yous. I mean, I've been on this project for a couple of months. Folks in this room have been working on this project for like a literal decade. And this has been just a huge cumulative effort over years and years, multiple groups in and out, but every little bit kind of moving this forward. So I just want to begin by just saying like a tremendous thank you to everybody. This has been, again, just a huge team effort and a huge community effort. And two of the, the biggest concerns that we heard throughout this process, I would say, were cost. Obviously, this is a huge cost and a huge investment for our communities, and timing. As we heard from Charlie and Allison, there is a lot of uncertainty right now. And so I think on cost, as Ryan said eloquently just put it, getting the state to get up and do something, we really need them to be partners on bringing the cost down on this project. And I think voters said that they did not write us a blank check. They said, written into the bond vote, we can do this if 25% of the cost comes from outside sources. And so that's really, I think, the next phase of this work is securing those outside resources, both from private philanthropy and then also from the state as well. And I really appreciate hearing from Charlie and Allison and understanding what we can be doing to kind of make that happen. And then the second piece is timing. And Charlie had a good point that this vote that we have is going to carry water, and we don't know exactly how far like it's going to take us, but it allows us a seat at the table and allows us to be a proactive partner in conversations going forward versus just sort of sitting on our hands and seeing how things develop. And so the question, Kara, that I thought you put forward so well was like, okay, so what can we do? And Charlie stole my thunder. He suggested a letter, and we have a letter. And so what we would like to put forward for the board as a working group is a public letter that just sort of publicly requests support from our local delegates around decoupling and funding the school construction fund. I think these are not like controversial issues. We heard two of our folks here discussing that they're working hard on this, their committees are working hard on this. But what a sort of public letter allows us to do is generate some public conversation around it. So it allows us sort of on the rebuild team to get this out on the website, allows Carrie or Sherry to connect with other districts who might also be in similar situations. Perhaps they've had a bond recently for HVAC and they want to make sure that they're not going to get penalized. So it allows us to kind of keep this conversation going in a public way, build allies, and build and kind of continue to work in partners with. So we have a draft letter. I don't know if I can share on the screen or if you're able to share.
Can you get into the meeting? Then I can make you a co-host.
Is this a draft letter from all of us together?
This would be a draft letter from the board directed to our local delegates, saying, we appreciate your partnership. Essentially, we're happy to sort of look through the whole thing right now, but basically we appreciate your partnership. We've passed a bond. We're excited about it. And we hope that you will fund school construction aid and work to decouple per pupil from construction spending.
Is a letter to Allison and Charlie?
It is Allison, Joe Major, Becca White, Charlie, Michael Hoyt, and Valerie Taylor. So sort of the whole Mountain Views delegation.
Windsor, yeah.
Yeah.
So would it help to get, what was the vote again? Another 1,000 people to sign on from the community?
Or is this letter is just from the board?
No, I know that,
Oh.
but is there a way to,
So I will, if this letter is approved by the board, I can send it out through Parent Square with the same recommendation. If
Yeah.
parents want to send it with their
I
own
mean,
personal message,
yeah.
absolutely.
And we can craft, we phone banking, we had a lot went into generating, getting this bond pass, and we're happy to like build some templates that folks can use and do some of
I
those.
mean, I know he said he didn't want, the same letter coming, but this a letter with 1,000 signatures on it?
Yeah.
Or more?
Yeah.
And then I will share with other superintendents who are going through a similar process, so I'm connecting with other, so it will come from other constituents around the state. It's not coming. Happening.
Mhm.
Double click. No, no, that's. Not a single.
Do we have a list somewhere of who we should be sending other letters to? That are not the form letters that Charlie was asking, suggesting we send letters? That's one of the questions I'm gonna put to Charlie, but I would assume that the Senate House, Senate Education Chair. The Senate Education Chair. And the House Education Chair. And the Ways and Means for both the House and the Senate, because they're the ones that control the money.
And Bongartz was here. I mean, he was one of the key people who did the walkthrough and said you deserve a building, and so pressure needs to be on Senate Ed. And this is his last term in the Senate, so he's wielding his power.
So the top is the folks that we are kind of formally addressing this to.
I want to make that a bit clearer.
So Zoom now.
Zoom in.
Yeah, just more comprehensive.
Yeah.
find your use of the comprehensive?
Comprehensive list.
She said bigger, I just thought they were.
It's cute. This is a good one.
So again, this is sort of our key request here, move construction debt penalty, fund the state aid for school construction program. This next piece, again, as a public letter, want to provide just a little bit of context for folks who might not be, obviously, we're addressing this to them, but also the purpose here is as a public communication document. So just sort of providing a little bit of context on why we need this to happen and the impact that districts, not just us, are experiencing with some of this right now. And again, contingency sort of written directly into the bond. And thanking our delegation for their continued partnership and leadership. We have definitely done our part, and this was a huge community lift, and now we need to do everything that we can to really support our folks in the House and the Senate to make sure that this happens. And we can sign with individual names. We can sort of, I have just from the school board here, but I'm happy to defer to whatever sort of typical.
Can we add like a little paragraph, P.S. Our community spoken as well in kicking 84. Feel free to do your little portion for us.
Absolutely.
Or P.S.S. Keep crooked ignoring us.
I could be so wrong, but there are teachers here. Does there need to be a comma before that as well?
Hey, T.A.
In the middle
Maybe.
paragraph.
Where?
But every school in the state, as well as the goals of Act 73, by helping communities build and maintain.
Oh, right, you're proofreading it.
Some here and there.
I mean, I would associate there's at least 3 questions.
I have done some grand checking.
I don't know if this is the best, yeah.
That's
but
right.
That's good.
Happy to update.
Regarding this project, but every school.
I don't think it matters, I'm just curious.
Principal school as well as the goals of act by helping communities.
Sounds good. I mean, I'm always impressed when people say that, like, oh, it really is meaningful when they receive all of this pressure from constituents, even though, I do feel like we're writing these people a letter, like, they know how we feel. So I guess I'm just, further wondering, like, on our 2 main asks, like, whether we say it here or we do research elsewhere, like the removing the debt penalty, like, I would have thought that was a no-brainer, and I really didn't follow the discussion so much on why that's such an issue. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess
There are communities who don't want to do that. They feel that.
we should be just double charged.
Oh, there are superintendents who feel like, our communities are not supporting, we're underspending, so why should other communities who are over the threshold? I mean, there is a push against this. It is, and to me, it was a no-brainer, and then I started hearing the arguments against it, and so we
Sure.
really have to convey our point.
And I think when he said we have to see what it does, I think he was gonna model what it does to tax, not just get opinions. I assumed they were gonna, run some models and see what doing this.
I don't know what that means. That was.
I mean, I don't know, that I should have asked him, but that's what I thought that.
Wondering if there's anything we could do that, like, we're telling them what we know already, and I fully approve this, I think we should send it, great. I'm just also wondering if there's anything, like, there's obviously issues with moving those 2 things forward. I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do to kind of like push the argument forward further.
Keep in mind, they're gonna have to make up the shortfall of the money you're sending them. And so if there's no double penalty, you're sending them $1.5 million that they're gonna have to make up somewhere else. So it will impact tax rates around the state because you're not the only one sending them money on a double penalty.
So they're just counting on the money that's coming in on the penalty money. That's.
They're based by that and everything.
My opinion, the state put the penalty in there to prevent us from maintaining our schools, to keep them in shithole conditions, so they can easily choose which ones to get rid of. If we put in say $1 million update to any of these schools, and then it gets shit canned the next day or next couple months, that's awkward. So the state's hamstringing us, and they're doing it on purpose, and they can't figure out what they want to do. They just don't want our opinion.
Corinne has her hand up.
Corinne?
I think that one really powerful piece of the messaging, which I can't, I'm looking at what's on the screen. I'm not sure if it's in here, but you know, the urgency on this issue, because this is something that can resonate with everyone across the state, is when there are safety issues for the students, you know, in play. And you know, the second to last paragraph mentions the urgency because of, you know, inflation, etc. But you know, and yes, you know, capital debt affects everybody across the state, but we're not the only ones in a situation where something has to be done to a building, whether it's a new building or some sort of maintenance, in order to ensure the safety of the students. And nobody should be penalized for that. That is something that the state should understand, that is, you know, it's sort of our duty to our students to be able to do that, and you shouldn't be penalized for passing a bond in order to maintain safety. So I don't know if you know, that point is in here, but I also think that whether it's here or not, in any discussion with other communities or legislators where there's this pushback on the you know, the how the funding piece and how that's distributed across the state, you know, in some sense, it's besides the point if what we're talking about is ensuring that our students are in safe buildings.
Yeah, that's probably something that could be, and for our situation, for sure. There's a safety need. The urgency is not just in the financial, it's also in the safety. So perhaps you could make that adjustment, Sam.
Yeah, we could definitely add that.
I think if it can get to them before crossover day, that would be a good date. So we could send this to each of you, and if you have further comments, you can send them forward. And, you know, until, as you look at it, and this is just really a kind of a quick look. It was written today, so it didn't get out ahead of time. So if you would all take your time in the next couple of days, and let's say by end of day on Wednesday, if you have comments and suggestions, could you send it to Sam and Seth probably?
One thing, just, I mean, you can't do it as an open Google that we can all work on, because open meeting law doesn't allow that.
Correct.
You have to, we would have to send each.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
our things. We can't work on it as an open document.
Correct.
Okay.
But we can all also individually send things, right? Like this.
We can, but I just meant we can't do it like a collaboration, because that's meeting, it's like we're having a.
Like having a meeting.
It's like we're having a meeting then. It's just that, let's do it open meeting rules.
Any other comments?
Not on this letter, but do you have an update on private fundraising, how much we've raised?
We're at 4.25 as of, I think, I haven't talked to Seth in the last couple of days, so something, you know, if something came through kind of over the weekend.
That's where we're last Friday.
I think it's at, I think he told me that he believes it's close to, if not 5 million.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's probably gotten some.
But and not everything's been inked.
Yeah. And I think I know that there were a number of folks that had expressed interest in the past and sort of on the like, come back to us when we have a successful vote, and we're happy to continue that conversation. So I think those conversations are going to be taking place over the next couple of weeks and months.
Do you know how much has come in for that matching?
I don't off the top of my head.
There's also a significant contribution that we got last time, and their board isn't meeting for a couple more weeks, but we anticipate that one coming back also. So we'll be, if we get the full match, and that will be over 6 million quickly.
Yeah.
Somebody from the community approached me and asked me if there was a way that they could contribute, like, is there a Venmo?
I have one.
No,
Yeah.
but that's, somebody asked me, that was very much funny, and I thought it was very sweet and cool that she was asking me that because she wants to contribute, so I was just bringing that to the attention, I'm not sure how.
And I had the same question, because a couple of people I know said they know they don't have a lot, but they could put it towards the matching grant.
Yeah.
And so I think we do need to figure out how to get that word
We
out.
actually have a structure on our website for doing that,
Okay,
and I will work with Raina, who knows how to work it and I don't, to add a link for the building construction.
Okay,
That
would be great.
Or get a QR code.
It is a QR code.
Oh, perfect.
yeah, and then we can also get
Because
that
I
out.
think that would be good, because people wanna know like where the money, and they wanna help and where it is and how they can be a part of this.
Yeah, and I think that can go out through communications to the various news.
Let me get the link up on the website and then I'll share it with all of you.
Thank you. Do we wanna like laminate those? I don't know if there's any places we would want to put them, but like the QR codes?
And you could get brilliant ideas all day long, don't you? I like, dude.
You know, I know somebody who works at Mont Bear Cafe, maybe we could have a little. Yes, and
I'm not a board member, so I'm speaking only as a community member and a group of and a member of this group. But I will just say, I think on private fundraising, wonderful that folks are expressing interest. And if the impression is that we are asking for donations from the community on top of, I think, concerns about taxes, I think that is gonna reflect negatively around the community. So I think we just want to be very cautious about the way that position, again, fantastic that folks are interested in contributing above and beyond. Yes, but I think, yeah, so I think that's just something we want to just be very cautious of and how that's going to be perceived. And again, when cost is already a concern around this, and it's a big investment.
Makes a lot of sense.
And if we're doing that, can we also look at putting a link up if people wanted to donate toward the potential future trade? Center of some sort, can't be on here because we don't have the square footage, but I bet there's a lot more people that are willing to donate toward that. But I don't know.
Mine's literally.
We will get this out. Are you able to send to everybody or do you want?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will get this out and again, happy to receive any feedback. So yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for your work.
And I think you might have sent this to me, you did send it.
Yes,
didn't
I
you?
can resend it.
Okay, perfect,
I'll send it.
great, all right, well, thanks for making the time that you had.
Yes, thank you all.
You had to skip bedtime, I guess.
Yes, I did.
I just have one question to ask it. I don't know, I think I missed one, Kim, it's still. Just about a totally different topic, if that's okay.
Why don't you do it right at public
Public
comment?
comment,
Yeah, you
Sure.
go there,
I even wrote it in public comments, that makes sense.
okay, perfect. All right, we need to approve the minutes of the February 2nd, board meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, thank you, Ryan and John. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody abstaining? All right, at this time, we also have another opportunity for public comment. Ryan is going to speak as the public here.
Yeah, Ryan Townsend, Bridgewater resident. I was just hoping for next meeting or at some point. I've heard through students and people in the school that there seems to be a handful of incidences being reported, behavioral incidences. In places that cameras are not, that, blind spots or whatnot. So I was just curious if we could get the ratio of how many reported instances were verified or able to be verified through our cameras. And how many are not, and further that one more with like hotspots in particular. Rumor has it I've heard at least 6 or 7 reports of the staircase down by the art room being a place crap happens because it's not recorded. So I just didn't know if we could get some.
Sure, I'm gonna have
Stats or
Alan and
updates.
Tom report out. It's a great topic.
All right,
Yep,
thank you.
no problem.
Yeah, I make a
Public comment?
Yes, I mentioned in my board report and I made a little mention in my last board report about the current attendance policy.
Can we talk, there's, so you need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
know some so
Yeah,
there's a federal definition for chronic absenteeism, and we are well, in terms of the amount of absenteeism in our district, we are well below the required threshold. So I thought it was not an issue. It is a significant issue. And our current attendance policy is based on state mandated truancy policy. So what is in place currently at the high school is not our choice. It is what is mandated by the Attorney General's office. So I was gonna pull you aside and give you that information because I know that has been an issue twice. But so what you're seeing in practice was revisions made this summer by administration at all of our buildings based on a revision to truancy policy across the state, and chronic absenteeism as defined by the federal, by the feds is definitely an issue in our district that we have to address.
and that also applies to like the full late policy. That's convenient.
Well, I mean, our job is to get you in school.
Yeah.
Our job is to make sure you're there on time. And, you know, I knew when I saw that, we would have more issues with attendance than we would with the phone policy, and it's true. And we have had some students who are chronically late for school and have continued in that pattern, and so part of that truancy policy was to address some of that, but much of what you see in place is through statute and was not a decision on administration that we're gonna come down hard on truancy.
Now I have an answer for them.
Yeah, and
What age or grade does that start? Just out of curiosity?
truancy, chronic absentee or truancy, oh,
Just
there's
like any of this like enforcement on.
it's K through 12, so even
Oh,
at,
K.
yeah, well, K is optional, you don't have to attend kindergarten, we've been applying that. We've even been using it for pre-K, just to keep parents aware of, there are expectations, it is based on state, so the truancy policy is really grades 1 through 12. But we've really been informing parents more pre-K, just so they
I
know
that, yes, it has been chatter in the pre-K community that, people were starting to receive some notifications.
Mhm.
I think one person I know received notification their husband had been late 25 times. But we were all kind of curious as to like, what is the impact? And so it's interesting to know that like at a certain point, like that this is it.
Right,
Like,
and
yeah.
and to know basically it's letters. I
Yeah.
mean, in the high school, it is around credit bearing, and, you know, part of it is, you know, if you aren't there for 10% of your classes, do you receive credit for as
Yes,
compared to
yeah,
the
yeah,
students who are actually there? And it may have been when you were a student there, you didn't have to go to, there was
Yeah.
no, and there were many kids who could pass the exams and were getting credit even though compared to other students who were coming every day. And so way back when, probably in the 90s, we started coming up in 2000s with, you really have to be in your seat to get the credit for the course. So just, thank you for bringing it up again.
That's great.
In public comment, I'm not supposed to respond, but it's slogan, so, and this is your second time, I just want you to know, you know, and Carrie, again, we've had this conversation about chronic absenteeism. There's new legislation that might come out state level around chronic absenteeism. It's an issue.
Is that like a thing to talk to the state about? Cause like, obviously, I'm so in agreement with like, we wanna reduce truancy, we wanna reduce lateness. But like, I've gotten a letter every single year and I never miss school willingly. Like, we don't miss school for vacations, I only don't come in when I'm like sick or I have a doctor's appointment. And it's like, it's sort of losing its meaning, so I'm wondering if there was, just like, if we should talk to the state about how we can make that like a more effective policy.
Well, it used to be that if you had a certain number of absences, then we had to call the constable, and the constable would show up at your house, and then the district attorney was involved, and it really became litigious. There's some heads going up and down here because they may have had an experience, but it really did not change students' behavior in terms of discipline. It's about the relationships, and it's around really making sure school is valuable for students. And then there's situations that are gonna happen. I mean, you get mono, you're gonna be out for, I mean, everything resets January 2nd semester, January 1, so if you had something else. It resets.
Yeah, that's so good to know. I'll tell you.
Yeah, So there's a lot there. And the principals, we just looked at the truancy policy again, and see if it's starting, those letters are starting to make a difference.
Sorry, don't make a big trip start.
I have to be at the bus station at 4:30.
So,
this
okay,
morning,
so
yeah.
on that note,
You're
I'm gonna
answering
ask if there's any more public comment.
Yeah.
Then there was a moment of reflection. Do you guys ever put on, like the AI companion for these meetings? That is a free feature with a paid Zoom?
We record and we have a individual who's a note taker, Marlena, and she will write, but we have not done the AI.
I would recommend that. I mean, it's just like, it would help, I'm sure it would help with meeting taking, it's, I mean, granted, I work in management consulting, so that's just like commonly what we do now, but it's, you obviously have a paid Zoom account here, so you might as well take advantage of the features that come with that, which are, which is like, that they will send out like amazing notes and action items and things that like would very much complement the meeting minutes for this. And you just have to press on. Thank you.
If we are in the reflection time, I
Yes,
had
we are.
a surprising conversation while waiting in line to vote. The people behind me were like, what is Mountain View School District? I was like, it's us. And that was news to them, and they're like.
They were clearly low.
Well, they were voting, right? So obviously their primary residence is here, so I just wanted to bring that up, but I know that we've communicated it super well, but the penetration has not hit 100% that our district is called.
Good to know.
Well, we still haven't changed the sign in the front of the building, and people like it, so, do we change it now? Anyway.
Do we have any other reflections here in the room or on? We could do that. I just don't like to cut anyone off. If they have a reflection they'd like to say.
I'll second Ryan.
Well, I was just gonna reflect that I think the bond passing was an amazing poll. And, a lot of people came out to do it and it passed quite well. So I just say, whether you're for it or against it, the people have spoken, so to speak. And I just thank all of you who put time in on committees and conversations and events in your own communities, and all of those things, because I think it paid off in the end, that we were honest and we were sincere about the reasons why we needed a school. So I would just want to say that as a reflection. And if there's no other reflections, who was that person who made the motion to adjourn? Was it Josh?
I made the motion.
Brian made it,
Seconded.
and Josh seconded. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed?